So the first AikiTaiso that we practice at Beach Aikido is Funakogi Undo. Funakogi Undo. It's also known as the rowing exercise because the motion is like rowing the oars of a rowboat, going forward and back, forward and back. And it's a really helpful visualization because it really mimics that. The important thing to understand for this one is the paintbrush that's describing the motion is actually your wrists, not your fist or your fingertips. So when we do it, we're actually projecting force from our wrist, not from our fists. So first I'll just demonstrate it from the front and the side. So Funakogi Undo. 1, 2, 3, 4. And from the side. 1, 2, 3, 4. So, things to focus on here. The level 1 focus is hips, wrists, hips, wrist. So what that means is I do our hips forward, and it's a subtle shift. And we're just extending forward. We're not overextending and losing our balance. So hips, and then with our wrists, when we shift our hips forward, we're bringing our wrists to our waist. We're loading up our wrists. And then we're going to thrust them out for our wrists out. And the motion is with a bent wrist, because again, we're first projecting force from our wrist. Then finally, the next hips back, and then snap the wrist to our waist. So it's shift, hips, wrists, hips, wrists. So again, with that in mind, we're going to do it again, just this time from the side. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So if you already know it, the level 2 focus is how can we look at the principles of KREW through the lens of this? How can we use this as an opportunity to practice KREW? So when you're doing it, focusing on your 1 point, we're going to feel our center of balance as we're doing this exercise. And you can even just do that initial shift, and it's subtle, but it's the foundation of a lot of powerful Aikido. So that's keeping your 1 point. Now relaxed, a lot of new practitioners will kind of have tense shoulders. They'll come forward and they'll go back, and it has to relax and really focus on relaxing your shoulders, and the rest of your body will follow. So 1, 2, and it's that combination of relaxation but forceful that is the principle of Aikido. Extension comes in later when we talk about practical application, but you don't have an opponent to extend, so we'll skip that for now. And then finally, weight underside is very important, because when you're coming forward, you don't want to extend out over your ankle and extend too far and have your weight come out from you. And then when you're coming back, you don't want to have your weight come out too far. So it's a very subtle motion, but it's a strong one. So think about that, and we'll do one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and then finally, the level 3 focus on this is an applied technique. And the best way I've seen this demonstrated is if you have 2 opponents, each with a 2-handed grab on a wrist on either side. So this is why the wrist is our paintbrush for this. If you have 2 opponents holding on to you, the technique is to take a step forward and to draw them into you. And then finally, project them forward. And so that's why loading your wrists up on your hips is important, so that we can cast it forward. The other variation on this is to take a step back and to snap the wrist back. So again, it's drawing in and then snapping back, and you're projecting the force backwards from your wrists. From the side, so drawing in, projecting forward, or drawing in, projecting back. So as a more practical application of this, I'm going to demonstrate one more time, but this time with a step forward and a step back to show those practical applications. So start with arms out to the side as if they're being held, and then 1, 2, and then from this back, step back, snap. So again, from neutral stance, 1, 2. And that gives us a very powerful motion. When you see it demonstrated with 2 people and the nage, it's very impressive that such force can be demonstrated to move 2 people just by keeping it within this zone of strength close to your belt. So that is Funakogi Unda.